Hello, everybody. This is Paul with our daily Bible reading, and we are up to 2 Corinthians chapter 9. But before we do that, let's open up with prayer in the Shema found in Deuteronomy 6:4-9. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Baruch Shem Kivo Mahuto Leolam Vaed. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh is our Elohim, Yahweh is one. And you shall love Yahweh with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And have these words which I command you this day be upon your heart. And you shall teach them diligently to your children, and speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you retire, and when you arise. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and let them be frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. Hallelujah, everybody. We are up to 2 Corinthians chapter 9. It's a very short chapter today, but we're looking at the collection of for the believers in Jerusalem. And we've been discussing this in a previous chapter. And unlike all the other chapters I read, in this one, there's no notes in my other translations for these two chapters. So we start off with verse 1. I really don't need to write to you about this ministry of giving for the believers in Jerusalem, for I know how eager you are to help. I have been boasting to the churches in Macedonia that you in Greece were ready to send an offering a year ago. In fact, it was your enthusiasm that stirred up many of the Macedonian believers to begin giving. And the note here says, by describing how their own enthusiasm had incited the Macedonians to give, Paul was, in effect, prodding the Corinthians to rekindle their initial enthusiasm for giving. Paul wasn't naive about human behavior. The start and end of the marathon are much more thrilling than the miles in between. It takes stubborn determination to keep going. Paul also knew that it took a community to preserve. Just as teammates will cheer their runner on a race, so Paul was sending Titus and two other believers to the Corinthians to cheer them on. And verse 3 reads, but I am sending these brothers to be sure you really are ready, as I have been telling them, and that your money is all collected. I don't want to be wrong in my boasting about you. We would be embarrassed, not to mention your own embarrassment, if some Macedonian believers came with me and found that you weren't ready after all I had told them. So I thought I should send these brothers ahead of me to make sure the gift you promised is ready. But I want it to be a willing gift, not one of given grudgingly. And the note for 3 to 5, verse 3 to 5 says, Paul reminded the Corinthians to fulfill the commitment that they had already made. They had said they would collect a financial gift to send to the church in Jerusalem. Paul was sending a few men ahead of him to make sure their gift was ready. So it would be a real gift and not look like people had to give under pressure at the last minute. He was holding them accountable to keep their promise so that neither Paul nor the Corinthians would be embarrassed. And then for verses 6 to 8, it says here, remember this, a farmer who plants only a few seeds will get a small crop, but the one who plants generously will get a generous crop. You must each decide in your own heart how much to give, and don't give reluctantly or in response to pressure. For Yahweh loves a person who gives cheerfully, and Yahweh will generously provide all you need. Then you will always have everything you need and plenty left over to share with others. And the note for verses 6 to 8 says, people may hesitate to give generously to Yahweh because they worry about having enough money left over to meet their own needs. Paul assured the Corinthians that Yahweh was able to meet their needs. The person who gives only a little will receive only a little in return. Don't let a lack of faith keep you from giving cheerfully and generously. And for verse 7, it says, a giving attitude is more important than the amount given. The person who can only the person who can give only a small gift shouldn't be embarrassed. Yahweh is concerned about how a person gives from his or her resources. According to the standard, the giving of the Macedonian churches would be difficult to match. Yahweh himself is a cheerful giver. Consider all he has done for us. He is pleased when we are created in his image. Give generously and joyfully. Do you have a difficult time letting go of your money? It may reflect ungratefulness to Yahweh. So that was for verses 7. That was verse 7. We did, and we read verse 8. And Yahweh will generously provide all you need. Then you will always have everything you need and plenty left over to share with others. And verse 9. As the scriptures say, they share freely and give generously to the poor. Their good deeds will be remembered forever. And verse 10. For Yahweh is the one who provides seed for the farmer and then bread to eat. In the same way, he will provide an increase in your resources and then produce a great harvest of generosity in you. And the note here for verse 10 says, Yahweh gives us resources to use and invest for him. Paul uses the illustration of a seed to explain the resources Yahweh gives us are not to be hindered are not to be hidden, foolishly devoured, or thrown away. Instead, they should be cultivated in order to provide more crops. When we invest what Yahweh has given us in his work, he will provide us even with more to give in his service. Hallelujah. And verse 11. Yes, you will be enriched in every way, so you can always be generous. And when we take your gifts to those who need them, they will thank Yahweh. So two good things will result from this ministry of giving. The need of the believers in Jerusalem will be met, and they will joyfully express their thanks to Yahweh. As a result of your ministry, they will give glory to Yahweh for your generosity to them and to all believers will prove that you are obedient to the good news of Yahshua. And a note for 13 says, Paul wanted his readers to be generous on every occasion as he appealed to the Corinthians to give sacrificially to aid the Jerusalem congregation. He reminded them that Yahweh is the source of everything good. Believers are called to be generous because of the example of Yahweh, the example of the life of Yahweh, or the example of the Lord of life. Stingy believers should be an extinct species. Generosity provides that a person's heart has been cleansed of self-interest and filled with the servant spirit of Yeshua himself. That is why acts of generosity result in Yahweh being praised. Do neighbors see generosity in your actions? And then we look at verse 14 in closing here. Well, 15 it says. So verse 14 says, and they will pray for you with deep affection because of the overflowing of grace Yahweh has given to you. Thank Yahweh for this gift. Too wonderful for words. Hallelujah. So that was verse 9 of 2 Corinthians. A very short chapter, but thank you for reading with me. Yahweh be with you all. Keep reading your word, and shalom, shalom.